Yep.
Welcome to episode 2 of Save the Square with Dory Maston. Today we're here with Randy Filiault. So you didn't butcher your last name this time.
That's okay. It's been butchered many times.
Exactly. So, we just had a podcast with Mayor Joe Chancel. He, brought up a lot of great stuff and was pretty transparent for the most part. And, it's great to have you here because there were some things that were talked about, primarily MSFI and why this is not going to MSFI. But let me preface this really quick with an article that was in the Keene Sentinel. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago?
Probably yesterday.
It was yesterday. Yeah. Councilor Greenwald has made his opinion on this project very clear, Hansel said. He should not be the person facilitating this important community project. It disenfranchises people who feel differently, and I think he's disqualified from that at this point because no one in this community, city councilor, resident, or mayor, is allowed to bully the community into agreeing with their point of view. That's not how we do things in Keene. So let me ask you the question. I talked to Mitch yesterday, right, in length about all of this in this article. And Mitch told me he's a lifelong resident of Keene, correct?
Yeah, since the 70s.
Okay,
yep.
Since the
Early
70s.
Yep.
Owns a real estate company here in Keene.
Right.
Owns a business on Main Street. Take the councilor out of this for a minute. He has a business on Main Street, right? He should have an opinion. But he said in 60 years, right, or say 50 years since he's been here, he's never, ever seen any project in the city of Keene not go through MSFI.
Especially one of this magnitude.
Exactly. Right. And you have been in Keene for how long?
A lifetime. I was born and raised in Keene.
Right. And you've been on city council or involved in government for how long?
I've been on city council 23 years.
And in 23 years, have you ever seen a project, small or big, or this project, not go through MSFI?
Never. Not one.
So why is this not going through MSFI?
You'll have to ask the mayor that, which I'm sure you just did.
We just did. He didn't.
All infrastructure committees, and I say that's what the I in MSFI stands for, infrastructure. All infrastructure committees go through MSFI. And I can go way back to Blackbrook Corporate Park. I can go back to when we did the railroad property. More recently, the roundabouts. All infrastructure projects go through MSFI. And all we really do is ask, and we ask questions and have them answered.
And the public is allowed and ask.
At a committee meeting, the public's allowed to attend and ask questions and demand answers. And
so are other council members allowed to be at MSFI as well?
Yes.
And can they ask questions?
Yes, absolutely.
And get answers?
Absolutely.
Okay.
At the committee meeting level, the public is asked and welcomed to attend, and the other city councilors not on that committee are welcome to attend because that's where you get questions and answers. Now, if you avoid the committee process and you just go to full council, A, the public cannot ask questions, and B, it kind of, all you're really looking to do when it goes to a full council is you're looking for a vote.
So Councilor Greenwald wanting this to go to MSFI is not bullying the public or anything like that, right?
He's informing us.
No, he's informing us, and then he wants the process to be complete, right?
Yeah,
the process has been in place for 50 years.
And for
reasons.
A
lot longer than 50. Okay. That's why when the city of Keene became a city government back in the 1800s, for whatever reason, that was the decision that the leaders of the city decided back then. When you decide to go to a city government, you have a form of government, and that includes committee process and full council process. That's the way it's set up, and that's the way it's been set up since then. And ever since I've been on, I got first elected in 1991. I took a little break off council, get reelected, came back. So I've been on it for a total of 23 years. Every infrastructure committee goes through MSFI, every one of them. And you ask yourself, if somebody wants to avoid the committee process, it's for a reason. It usually means they don't see they have the votes to get it done and they're trying to jam something through. I'm not naive. I've been doing this for a long time.
But even if it went to MSFI and you and Mitch and Bobby Williams and Catherine, five, right? Right. And even if all five of you were, if you approved it in MSFI, it still goes to city council, right?
Oh,
and then everybody votes on it. So, so I don't understand what the problem is by not going to MSFI.
I believe his words were that Randy and Mitch would poison the well.
There's no such thing as poisoning the well. We will ask questions. We will ask pointed questions. Okay.
You can learn things by MSFI too. Things
you
don't know.
I mean, I've gone through the committee process the 23 years I've been on council, and I've had councilors stand up and say something or ask a question. I'm like, oh, you know what?
I didn't didn't think of that.
I didn't think of that. I didn't understand that. Yeah, you make a valid point. That's why you have the committee process. When you avoid the committee process, you avoid those particular questions that might be asked. I'll admit right now, when something's gone through committee and I've had an opinion one way and somebody brought up a valid point, I will say, you know what? You've made that valid point. I think I'm going to be changing my opinion on this. That's why you have the committee process. When you avoid it, you're looking to railroad a process through.
So MSFI basically, really, for all intents and purposes, is a stopgap measurement, right? Between a project happening, not happening, but giving an opinion, correct?
Exactly.
It's a recommendation.
And
right?
when it comes through a committee, whether it's MSFI or something goes to the finance committee basically they recommend if something can be viably financed and where the finance is coming from. Now, the finance committee might say, okay, this whole project is going to go through taxpayers' dollars. That's what we found. We're sending to full council. The full council might say, we agree with what you said, but we don't want the whole project to go through the city council or through the taxpayers. So unless you can find funding at another alternative, we're going to vote no. The committee process.
Will that happen, Randy?
You have no idea from project to project, but that's why you have a committee process. You dig into the dirt. You find out the nitty gritty questions and answers that might have been avoided that haven't been asked yet, and. You get to that point and you say, well, okay, I'm comfortable with this. Let's do a vote at this point. But the committee process weeds out. And what the committee process also allows is public input. If you go to full council, the public is left out of it.
He said that the public will be able to go on January 30th, look at the presentations, which, these presentations will be a lot better, I assume, than what we've seen so far. And then the public can ask questions, and then it will go to MSFI. And the public can ask questions, which I understand that's a great thing. But MSFI, if it's not a process that we take seriously, if it's not one, am I wrong that MSFI is like handpicked people to be on the committee?
Right.
You and Mitch have been here. We have your knowledge. We rely. You're respected in the community. By skipping that process, I feel like the mayor isn't being transparent, because we may hear things. You two or you five may say things the public don't know.
Right.
Or you guys may find things that
the problem with skipping the committee process. First of all, you ask yourself why. Why are we skipping that? Are you afraid that questions and answers might come up that you don't agree with? So you have to ask yourself, why are we skipping the committee process? The second thing is, if you allow this, where does it take you down the road? A particular mayor comes up and wants to avoid the committee process and says, we don't need to do this anymore. You ask yourself why, because this opens up a can of worms for any particular mayor down the road. You don't want to hear what the council committee has to say. You do not want any more public input. You ask yourself why and where you leading you down the road. Now, I've been on the committee where I've disagreed with the majority, but so be it. You live and die,
Right, but I really think that it's all about process, right? If in 60 years, 70, 80, 100 years, everything is
well
gone through...
over 100 years now.
So
since we became a
call
city
it
form of government.
125 years.
Right.
If every small, medium, and large project that's come to the table has gone through MSFI,
Yes.
why is this one not?
That's a good question.
What did you tell me yesterday?
The I in MSFI stands for infrastructure.
Correct.
I said that.
Everything comes through MSFI. And like I said, if we have a majority or a minority vote, it doesn't kill the project.
That's what I said.
It doesn't kill the project.
Right.
It just means this is what we found. This is our opinion. You send it on to the full 15-member council. The 15-member council will look at it and say, well, we agree or we disagree.
Right.
The great thing about the committee process, though, is even though it's a 5-member committee process, all the full council is invited to attend. They can attend, or you can watch it. Now you can watch it on television also.
Right.
But I'll give you an example of that tonight. The finance committee is meeting tonight. I'm not a member of the finance committee, but we'll be talking about Spectrum Cable. Okay,
I saw your post on this,
and I'm
today.
not on the
Yeah.
committee. I will be attending. Now all the council is invited to attend, but I will attend and I will offer my opinion. Mm-hmm. This committee will then forward whatever findings they have to the full city council. okay? But the more that show up at a committee meeting, the better. So, like I said, I'm not a member of that committee, but I will speak up on behalf of my constituents. I'm elected by constituents, not other city councilors, okay?
Right.
So the bottom line is it's the citizens of Keene that control this. What I'm concerned about is the way city government is set up, and it was in the 1800s, it's a bottom-up process. By that I mean the citizens of Keene elect your city councilors, okay? It works its way up. So then the city council, we have committees, it works its way up. Then the city council recommends it to the full city council. It works its way up, and then you get a vote. What the mayor is handing out to us right now, it's just a power process on down. We'll make the decisions, and we'll squash it right here.
So we will, as leaders of the city, we will figure out what's good for you and just make a decision based on that.
Yes, we will make the decision,
That's bullshit.
and we will not listen to the public at any more public inputs.
So then why
My
even
opinion
have the meetings then?
Exactly.
Why even have the workshops?
My opinion is the more public input, the better. It's better to delay a project and more questions asked and answered than to railroad something through and try to avoid questions and answers.
Right.
You know, where any community is messed up in the past is when you didn't ask enough questions and answers and you railroaded something through. Then a year later you go, whoops, we messed that one up. If we're going to mess something up, it's not going to be on behalf of not asking enough questions and answers and have the public involved.
Well, according to the last podcast we did last week, I mean, you said that, you know, you guys as city council as a whole have messed up, right? And
I think so.
Made
In
mistakes.
delivering this, right?
Oh,
yeah.
in delivering this.
Yeah.
This particular project, I completely agree it's been messed up. Even though I was on the committee for, you know, it was a subcommittee involved with city councilors and some members of the public. It met at 3:00 in the afternoon, you know, like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Nobody can attend that. The media didn't even attend that.
Well, who can attend that at 3:00 if you have a 9 to 5 job?
So,
right?
in hindsight, if I was mayor, which I'm not,
Could be in the future.
yeah,
Who
you
knows?
never know at this point. But if I was mayor,
definitely need
what
a
you
new one.
want to do is you want to set a time and a place where the full public can attend. 3 PM, most people aren't attending; they're working.
Well, and I think venue boils into that as well, right? I mean, you're not going to fit every resident in the city of Keene if they wanted to show up to every one of these workshops in that building. You need to have something substantial,
Well, no,
right?
and even at 3:00 in the afternoon, you have to ask yourself, who are you really inviting? At 3 PM, who you inviting? You're inviting staff and engineers.
Absolutely.
Because they're working. The
Right.
public is working and they will not attend.
Right.
Transparency to me, ever since I've been on council, and hey, I've won a few and I've lost a few. I've taken a few on the chin.
Sure.
And that's the way it is. But it's not from lack of transparency. Transparency is the number one word in government. And that's why people don't trust government
got very mad.
at local levels.
Yeah, he did.
He got very mad
You know,
when
at
I said
local
that.
and state and federal levels, you can win some, you can lose some, but at least you want people to say this was transparent and I had my say. When you avoid the committee process in Keene, you're avoiding public comment.
Well, and I think avoiding the process is one, and then the comments he made about Councilor Greenwald yesterday in the article. I mean, being a bully against city. That's
Well, that's completely inappropriate. And
Who's poisoning the well? When you tell the public that there's a city councilor that is bullying the public, or hasn't he just poisoned the well?
Well, I mean, you know, once again, all of that's that's for public opinion. But we're all elected to make comments. We're not elected to stand back and be quiet.
No.
Hey, look, I've taken some comments on the chin over the years. You know, I've made amendments. I've made resolutions. You know, I've forwarded issues to council. Some people didn't like it, but so be it. I'm transparent.
So do you
Okay.
think this is going to be a learning experience for Mayor Hansel?
I think it'd be a learning experience when he's voted out of office.
Do you think it's already a
Absolutely.
learning experience for him?
Well, if he runs for office again this year, I'll run against him because I'm completely against how he's handled this. Hey, look, I've agreed
Do
with
you
it.
think he knows that, and that's why he wouldn't come on the podcast with you today?
I have no idea. You'd have to ask him that. Politics is a strange bedfellow, man.
That blew me away when he said that, it's not good for, it's not good optics or something for a councilor and the mayor to be debating a topic like this on a podcast.
last
And I'm thinking to
weekend-
myself, but it's okay for you to show up at a protest with another councilor, no problem.
A
right?
councilor who agrees with him.
Hey, look, honestly, it's politics 101.
I get it.
I have no problem disagreeing with somebody on something. I mean, I've gone down to the mat
You and
agreeing or
I.
disagreeing.
You- Randy and I.
Dory and I beat the hell out of each
I've
other.
called him an asshole, I think.
Oh, I think it, I
In
think
the
it,
text
The
message. You're an
swearing,
asshole.
Dory, the swearing.
well, actually,
Well, that's me.
that was the most complimentary thing she said about me.
Right. Yeah, well, yeah, probably.
But the point was, even when that happened, we followed process.
Right.
Okay. What you want to go to the mask ordinance? We had a public hearing.
I remember those days.
It went through committee,
Yep.
and I sat there, and I was not on that committee. I am not of the PLD committee, but I sat to the front of that committee process and listened to the constituents on both sides. I wasn't afraid to take it on the chin, and you knew some people were going to do that. That's what happens. When you're afraid to take it on the chin, it's time to get out of politics, because that's what it's all about.
Exactly.
You're never going to get 100%. And I've always said, if you want to find a corrupt politician, find one that agrees with everybody on 100% of everything, and I'll find you a corrupt politician. Because if you're a real politician, or if you're just elected to politics, you're going to tick off a bunch of the people a bunch of the time. And you know what? When they do and they vote you out, we have Thursday nights off, and you find something else to do.
But I think it's great for any politician to hear both sides of it and you know make a decision based on what the constituency wants, right? Not based on what your personal opinion is, because your personal opinion doesn't matter. You weren't elected to vote on your personal opinion. You were elected to vote on the opinions of your constituents that elected you.
Exactly.
Right?
And I mean, sometimes issues come up where you might know a little bit more behind the scenes than the general public did. But whatever. I never vote on anything based on if I'm going to get reelected or not. If I get thrown out, I get thrown out.
Right, exactly.
That's just the ball game.
Right.
This isn't like Congress down in Washington where you have a lifetime job.
Right.
We make $47 a week. If somebody else can do a better job than I can, bring it on.
Right, exactly.
But bring it on and make a valid point and run for office. But don't hide.
Right.
Do not hide.
Well,
Bring it out.
but he's not hiding. I mean, he came here today and sat on a podcast for 50 minutes.
But he would not sit on a podcast with me.
That's
I will sit on
Only with those that agree.
I will sit on a podcast with anybody. You disagree with me? Bring it on.
Sure.
Bring it on. And you know what? Like I
But
said,
that's life in general, right?
Well,
Everybody
you
has an
learn
opinion.
Also.
I said
it's a
it-
learning process.
It is.
When
Right.
someone doesn't agree with you and you listen, it can possibly change your perspective.
and
of
that's what
things.
that's what it does at the committee level.
Exactly.
Somebody can bring a perspective at the committee level and say they might say something you haven't heard before, and you go, "Damn."
So
Didn't
why?
hear that.
So I mean, in my opinion, I don't have a dog in the hunt, but in my
Right.
opinion, this should be going through. It should be going through the
Let me tell you
process.
this: it will go through the committee process.
Well, it better, because I think there's going to be a lot of people
Well,
that
I
are
asked
upset
several
about
times,
this, and it's going
and,
to affect elections in the next
I
one.
asked if it goes through, if it were to go through, and that was my question to George.
Yeah.
If it goes through MSFI, worst case scenario, it doesn't. You don't recommend it.
Right.
It just goes back, and we do more homework.
Right,
Right.
it goes
it's
back
not
to-
like dead in the water. We just do a little bit more
it
homework.
goes back
It's
to full-
just-
all
it's
the
just
committee process.
process.
Means more questions were asked,
Right.
and maybe you get a positive answer. Maybe it comes out of committee, and we hear, you know what, we heard stuff that we didn't hear. We're in favor of it, or you might hear things from other people that say, you know what, we're not in favor of those. Whichever way it goes, it goes. But you are right. It comes out of committee. It's not dead. There are some areas of politics where they say, oh, it died in committee. In the city of Keene, the way the structure is, it does not die in committee, okay? We don't kill it. It doesn't just go off and never land, and it doesn't happen. All the committee does and says, we listened to the hearings, we listened to the public, we listened to the experts, here's our opinion. Then it goes to full council, all 15. It's wide open. It's back on the table again.
Right.
And then the full council makes a decision.
He
So why not
truly
just let it go
believes-
through the process? I mean, that
Goes to the process.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
all it
In
is.
100 and something years, it's worked. If somebody's trying to avoid the process, you have to ask yourself,
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Don't you think not only does he want to avoid the process, which is its own issue, now he wants you and Mitch disqualified from council.
Oh, I
Like,
look forward to that fight.
don't-
Oh, bring that on.
Don't you? I mean, I think he's the one being the bully.
Well, that's like saying, okay, somebody's in favor of a process. They've said we're in favor of. So do we eliminate them because they don't want to listen to any more information? I'm just the opposite of that. I'm saying send it to committee and show it to me. Show us why it should happen or shouldn't happen. The more education and the more information you have in front of you, the better.
Well, I think the question becomes, if he's willing to bypass the process, what else is he willing to bypass?
Well, not only this mayor.
And what's he willing to hide?
I've served under 5 mayors and 4 city managers.
Incredible.
Okay,
Thank
and
you.
there'll be mayors down the road. He's not going to be the last mayor.
No, not
okay?
at all.
So once you set, a procedure or a policy or a schedule, you have to ask yourself, is by avoiding the committee process this time going to lead to a mayor down the road avoiding the committee process? Because you're kind of nervous
Well, this
about
sets a precedence, right?
it sets a precedence. Are you nervous about what this committee is going to find? Or do you look at the committee and say, or as a mayor, do you say, you know what, I'm going to set up this particular committee with members that I like because I think they'll vote in my favor?
Yeah.
And sometimes
that's
that
wrong.
works, but you only have so many members on council. So sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But no, I'm all for the process. I'm all for the one word I always used on council, whether people have agreed with me or disagreed with me, transparency. The
That's
thing
what I
that
said.
irks people the most in the public, because honestly, we have 23,000 residents in Keene. Most don't follow the politics. They trust us.
Well, there's a lot of them following this.
They're following this.
Yeah,
But when you lose the public's trust, you've lost everything.
Yeah.
Which is why Save the Square came out.
Right.
They
right.
had 85. Stantec spent 160 some odd $1,000 for public relations.
Right.
They had 85 responses, or maybe 86. It said. I started a Facebook page, and we had. I think there's 1,200 followers now.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
the
A
one-
petition
Yeah.
with over 300.
and
$200.
I appreciate that. And one thing I will say, I never sign or join any group, because when you do, you've compromised yourself. And I appreciate any group, either side.
Right.
I mean, there could be a side saying, you know what, we don't care, tear up downtown and do what you want to do. And I will listen to them, okay? That doesn't mean I will agree, I will listen. And once again, I'm going back full circle. That's why you have a committee process.
Right.
You listen to both sides and you don't railroad it through. You avoid the committee process, and once again, you ask yourself, why? Why is this trying to be railroaded through the process?
It's the $1 million question, right?
It will not happen. And I've agreed and disagreed with members of this particular council, as I have with members over the years. I will tell you right now, this will not avoid the MSFI committee. It will come to us. Trust me on that. If you're going to Vegas and betting, bet on this one. It's coming through MSFI.
How can he be so confident that it won't?
Been there, done that. I trust my city council.
Well, I guess I mean,
I try.
I'm fighting this with all I have.
I trust
have
the
a lot
members
to
of the council.
lose. I respect Ted McGreer, Mose, the stage. We all are in this same game.
Right.
All of us. We have a lot to lose.
A lot to lose. You have skin in the game.
We have a lot of skin in the game.
Right.
But it's not just that, which is what the mayor was basically trying to say, is that's all I care about.
Right.
It's not. I've done plenty for this community. I've helped. I've joined things. I've started, Moms on a Mission. I've done, I think, enough
Stuff.
to say that, I love Keene.
Right.
I tried to explain. It's just beautiful. We've been on newspapers, radios, magazines. And he just brings it back to basically, this is me about money. If it's me about money, why are we going all the way down Main Street as far as Ted's
Right.
to say this? We can't do this.
Well, I look at it this way, and I'll be honest with you. If I looked at the traffic pattern downtown around the Common, and the traffic pattern didn't work, even though I love how it looks, and I've lived here all my life, if the traffic pattern didn't work and we had a problem downtown, I'd be like, okay, you know what, we need to fix it. I look at it as two things. One, do we have a problem? We don't. It works. You come downtown,
Necessity.
you will never sit through one light pattern, ever. Okay?
Right.
You might hit a red light, which we all hate red lights,
I said that.
but you will get through in one traffic pattern.
And
so we do
safely.
not have a problem. The question is, if you change the traffic pattern, are you making a better one or a worse one? And the answer is, we don't know. So,
Have you heard of a safety study?
I've heard of the studies. I've got.
I can't find one, so I
got,
don't know.
Well, I've got emails from former engineers that lived in Keene saying
Yeah,
that
we have
Stantec's
too.
traffic
Yeah.
study is flawed. But even with that, my point is, all you got to do, and I've done what you've done, Dory, and I've done what many people have done.
certainly
I've
have.
gone over at Fritz's in the morning with a cup of coffee and get to reality and stare out the window. Watch the traffic patterns. Okay. Do we have a problem even at rush hour? Rush hour. Does anybody sit through more than one red light? Never. So if you have to sit through one red light and it works, then it works.
That's exactly what I said.
And so then we need to move on.
It's just every day. It's just we're getting to work. It's just
It
going
works.
downtown.
It
It's
works.
one
Why
traffic
change
light.
something
It
that
works.
doesn't need to be fixed?
And then
I
the other
don't-
argument
this
is
what I don't
those
get.
that want to argue green space. I'm like, you know what?
Great, go to Gilbo.
I'm with you. We'll go to Gilbo Ave. And,
agree with
and if
that.
you look at Railroad Square and you don't
Got a
like
blank slate down
you
at
don't-
Gilbo.
you don't like the bricks at Railroad Square,
Right.
we'll plant grass there.
Yeah.
We'll plant grass on the Gilbo
Sure.
Ave. We'll raise the crosswalks and we'll attach the two.
Randy,
and
was that already proposed?
We'll have more
before?
green space.
And
It
if you're
was,
gonna,
right? It was the art corridor. Or am I
Well,
wrong?
the art corridor, yeah, but I mean that
was
kind
funds
of.
set aside to already do that?
Well,
we just have it?
that kind of, it fell through the boards.
Oh.
But nothing's off the table. I look at Gilbo Ave. It's like, you look at the concrete on Gilbo Ave. I mean, you could literally have a 5 or 6 lane road down there. It's wide.
Yeah, I mean,
so
put a
you narrow
racetrack
it down
down
to 1 or 2 lanes, depending what the final decision is. And I've had people say, what about Church Street up in Burlington? We love that. It's like, okay, Gilbo Ave would be perfect for that. From downtown Keene, to the Elm City Brewery, we can create our own Church Street.
Yeah,
We can
totally.
do that without messing up downtown.
Right.
So
I also think
that's
it's
why it
worth
goes.
mentioning, Randy has been you were in the fire department at one time.
I was a
weren't you?
firefighter in Keene for 6 years. That is
Yeah.
correct.
So I
I've
think
come around the common backwards. It
Yeah.
works. It works. It works. It's kind of funky, but
right.
you know,
but
you,
I think
you,
safety-wise, you would understand any report that came from the fire department, if the fire department gave a report on this new egg about, which is the size of the one at Cheshire Medical Center, which is pretty tiny.
right.
Or they gave you a safety pattern for if we developed Gilbo Ave, you would understand it.
Oh, all of that comes into play, but like I said, I have my experience, and the mayor has his. I've been a firefighter; he hasn't. I've come around the common backwards quite a few times on fire and ambulance. It works. So if the mayor wants to get together with me and debate me, bring it on. I'm happy to do that anytime. As a city councilor, as a lifetime member of the city of Keene, as a firefighter, bring it on.
well, maybe if you get disqualified from the process, he will.
Oh, bring that on. See how that works.
Right.
Because it'll take a majority of the city council to eliminate a particular city councilor from, any.
And there's
particular-
mutual respect, even if you disagree with one or two of the city councilors. Wouldn't you think, for the most part, everybody respects everybody's opinion? I mean, maybe not Remy so
Yeah,
much, but I
might-
can say that you can't.
Yeah, you might disagree. You might just say, you know what, your head's buried where the sun doesn't shine. But you know what? That's part of the process.
Right,
And
exactly.
that's why you have a committee process.
Right.
It works.
Well, a committee process that has transpired over the last 100 and something years.
transparent.
Just
And
follow,
and I-
follow the process, and everybody's happy.
And I've told members of the Sentinel and members of WKBK, bring it on, be more transparent. If somebody beats me up because something, I might have done the community disagrees with, bring it on and show me why.
Yeah,
I
I
have
mean,
no problem with that.
if
but
you're not-
no,
if
I would never, even if you look at this particular proposal downtown, a couple of councilors said, oh yeah, we like it. Well, I'm not going to ask them to be disqualified because they like it. They like it for whatever particular reason they like it on. But if you like it, let's go through committee, show why you like it, and see if there's an opposing view or an opposing engineer or somebody that disagrees with you.
Is Bobby Williams on MSFI?
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Yep, Bob's on it.
I think he has been absolutely as vocal as anybody.
Right.
Why wouldn't he be?
Well,
I mean-
based according to the mayor of how he can figures it, yeah, he could be eliminated because he says he favors something.
So why don't we get him on the podcast?
Yeah, it's like what and I'll
I
say
could be civil, but I gotta tell you, I don't know.
I'll say this about Bobby. We've agreed on things in the past. I will not trash another city councilor.
No,
I'll
not at all.
disagree with them.
No, that's not the intent of this
And on this
podcast.
particular one, yeah, we disagree. But would I say, you should be eliminated because I disagree with you?
Right.
No, disagree with you. Bring it
that's-
on. Bring on your facts. It's all good. That's what's called diplomacy. That's what's called elected government.
Now, it's also called deflection because now the mayor has taken a certain process out of the process
Right.
that has been in the process for over 100 years. And now he's saying, well, we don't need that. And,
'Cause it
and
suits
rather than address that and just follow the normal process,
Right.
his deflection is that we need to disqualify Mitch and Randy from the process because they have a different opinion.
And
that's
also public.
way different than mine.
Two things that
Public
will not
speaking.
happen.
Exactly.
Mitch and I will not be disqualified.
No.
It will go through MSFI.
I can't wait.
Go to Vegas right now and put your bets on that. It's going to happen.
Am I putting it on red or black?
One person.
And
does
how
not-
much?
One person does not control this city,
Right,
especially somebody that was not born and raised in Keene and showed up late and has no intentions of staying here. Some of us are born and raised here. Some of us really care about the community. Some of us aren't going anywhere, and some of us have no intention of running for higher office.
Well, I sure as hell hope that he doesn't go to higher office.
Well, you know what?
That's
Stay
scary.
tuned.
Scary for me.
Bring it on. To be continued. Thank you for inviting me. I genuinely appreciate
Thank
No
it.
you,
problem. We'll
Randy.
have you again, Randy.
Thank
We
you,
love having
Aaron.
you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
This is SaveTheSquare.org. Visit us online. Sign the online petition. Check out the website. Check out our YouTube channel. We've got a lot of stuff coming your way. So stay in touch, and we'll talk to you soon.
Take care.